This is Eastman's Elevated Podcast. I have on great guests that are really knowledgeable, consistently successful. We're able to dive deep down the rabbit holes of these different subject matters of shooting, of physical fitness, of mental toughness and drive. All the different skills that make up a complete hunter that you can become.
Here's your host, Barney.
Hey, what's happening, guys? Got a brand new Eastman's Elevated for you. So on today's podcast, going to sit down, record a solo episode. Man, it's just been an epic season. So got a couple elk hunts to talk about, and then, just talking about the future and plans and what I'm working on, and kind of a recap, and then talk about, back to training, back to running. There's a bunch to talk about. We'll get into it. I just want to thank a couple sponsors, and then we can start the podcast. So I want to thank Outdoor Edge Knives. So they're a replaceable blade knife that you can use in the field to always have a super sharp blade. I think one of the most dangerous things when working a deer or working an elk is to have a dull blade and have to force it. Now with these replaceable blade knives, I don't have to bring in multiple knives. I don't have to bring in sharpeners. I can just bring one knife, have a handful of blades, and then I can tackle everything on breaking down these animals with one knife. I can take, the quarters, back straps, ribs, the tenderloins, take all that off. I can take the head off. I can do that all with a knife by finding the joints, by having a sharp blade. And Outdoor Edge built a great one. Check them out. They've got a burlier blade that stands up to the abuse. I can usually get through a deer with one blade, an elk with a couple blades, because their hide is just so thick. But check them out. They're producing great products over there at Outdoor Edge. I also want to thank Matthews. Matthews has outdone themselves with these new bows. I've been in love with these Matthews models the last 5 or 6 years, but they're just building super forgiving bows. They're getting a ton of performance out of it. I'm really happy with this year's lift. Have it shooting really good. I was out again this morning, ripping arrows. We have no wind this morning, really calm, and just shooting great groups. It just holds its tune throughout season. It is forgiving, great performance, and man, it's done really good for me this season. So if you're in the market for a new bow, make sure to check them out. That lift's a great one. I mean, really, the last few years have been great bows. They will have a new bow dropping in November. I can't wait to get my hands on that one, see what they're coming up with. But until then, that lift is not a bad model. It's been my favorite bow to date. Absolutely love that thing and can't wait to cut it loose here for late season. So check those guys out over at Matthews. Also check out Camo Fire. Camo Fire is an app. They have 80 new hunting deals that come up every 24 hours. You can save a pile of money on overstock gear or items that you need. If you just keep a watch, you can download the app, have it on your phone, and then save a pile of money with them. I also want to thank Black Ovis. So Black Ovis is an internet retail shop that has absolutely everything you need for your next hunt. I'm blown away at how organized this website is. They just have great models and great selection all the way through. They carry the top name brands as well as their own name brand. Like just for tents, for instance, I can go in there and just look at a pile of quality tents, and then I can look at the weights of them. I can look at how small it packs up and really find the right one for me. And they have that on all items. So they're doing a great job over there. Make sure to check them out over at Black Ovis. And over at Eastmans, we've got the new Beyond the Grids dropping. There should be a new late season mule deer episode that'll be dropping that I put together from last season that I'm really proud of. So that'll be coming out. Bunch of great elk episodes. Dan's elk episode is great. And then can't wait, put together probably 3 of my best films this season. So those will be dropping in the next year as well. In fact, I'm just shipping all my footage over to Eastman's. I've got it finally organized here and orchestrated. In fact, those are my external hard drives sitting behind me. So we'll ship that out and get that over to Eastman's and then see about those new films coming out. So super excited about that. We have the magazines, Eastman's Bow Hunting Journal, Eastman's Hunting Journal. I just wrote one in there about off-season fitness. So yeah, proud of that article, writing the anchored in the front of the magazine. And Yeah, me and Dan Picard, we tend to switch off every episode, or every issue, excuse me. So I wrote this issue's one for the next Eastmans Bow Hunting Journal come out. Also check out the Mule Deer Collective, Elk Collective. Sure to cut your learning curve by years by going through that video course. Proud of how that came together as well. And we're always adding new stuff to the course as well. So should be some great stuff that we'll add this year. Tips and tactics when I was in the field when I thought about filming it. So I have notes for my video editor so they can start to put that into the course. So with that, let's get into this podcast. So solo episode, see if I remember how to do a podcast. I don't remember how to talk. I'm already tripping over my words. But yeah, it's been a while. It's been a great break for me. Been able to pre-record a bunch of the episodes that came out during hunting season. And then I would sit down and produce 2, 3, 4 weeks in advance. And that's what I'm doing now is I'm producing a couple weeks and we'll get these things out. And man, it's been good for me to get a little break from it. Back to recording. Got one recorded with Dan Picard. I believe that we released it last week by the time you're hearing this. And then, going to try to get another one with Dan Picard here. And got a couple coming up this week. So, I've been able to keep up with work and responsibilities and things. And then, man, it's just been an absolutely epic hunting season. I can't get over the way it's all come together. It is a testament to, working at my craft and really honing my bow hunting skill sets. Over the years, I've just been all in for the last 20, 25 years of putting everything into bow hunting. And really, I had a vision of seeing this kind of success and just kept working towards my goals every off season, during season, being able to get enough time in the field. But it is just wild to see it come together. It almost feels, it doesn't feel too easy. I had a grind of a hunt there for high country mule deer, came together. If you guys listen to that solo podcast, and then, roll into elk season and really wanted to have a good elk season. And, so I started off, I had a tag in another state I'd picked up, easy to draw tag. And, so went on that hunt and got down there, and man, I was so eager to get into the mountains, but this huge rainstorm had come in. And so I had a cameraman down on that hunt, and man, it was Buddy Carter. He filmed a late season mule deer hunt for me last season. And so we loaded up, we headed down there, and it was still pouring down rain. It was supposed to clear the next couple days, but I was so eager to get in there. And a lot of times, these storms can really kick off the rut, especially with the dates I was headed down there. I think I was headed down there maybe the 12th or something like that. Finished up that mule deer hunt, got a little work done, and got repacked and had some buddies in town. Buddy from Australia, a couple buddies from Hawaii come out, and so we kind of got them what they needed, and they headed off on their hunts. And then I was able to have Carter meet me here at my place, and then we jumped in together and headed down to go hunt this thing. But I got down there, I was so eager to get hunting elk and to get into elk country and hear bugles. And elk hunting's some of the most thrilling hunting I do. I really enjoy, I think mule deer hunting and elk hunting are my two favorites, and a couple things that I just long for and look forward to. That's what keeps me training so hard throughout the year is these hunts. And I know they're not going to be easy. I know they're going to be a grind. I know it's going to be tough to turn up that next level mature animal that I'm looking for, but I just can't wait to embark on it. So I get down there, it's pouring down rain, and I said, well, we're going to go in, and this is a spot that's been good to me before. I've killed a bull out of there. I've been in there and had great action. I've sent buddies in there. They've had great action. And so it's a place that I can count on, that I know I can go in there and there's going to be some elk around. And so I kind of made a plan. I was going to come in from the other side. I actually drove to the other trailhead. It was just getting dark, but I just didn't know where I was going to be able to get water. And it's a backpack way back into the mountains. And coming from the other side, I know a spring that I can get water at 9,100 feet. And so I opted to, instead of going from the place I didn't know, to come from the place I did know, where I knew I could go in light without any water, fill up my water at that spring, and then I could continue on and go back further if needed. And it also sits above this master vantage point that's such good hunting in there. And so anyways, I got down there. It's pouring down rain. I should probably wait and just go in the next morning fresh, but I just can't help myself. And sometimes I have to learn these hard lessons as well. And so, I told Carter, I'm like, man, we just got to load up and get in there. It could be going off tonight in the morning. And if we go in tonight, we actually add a morning hunt because we'll be in there for tomorrow morning. We'll know if we need to move, if we need to continue further, what we need to do. So we packed up all our stuff. It's just getting dark, and we head in for a 4-hour journey in there. And we loaded up. I was so confident that this spot was going to be going off in there that I loaded up 5 days worth of gear and food and everything we needed. So we're going in, fairly heavy. It's not a 1-2 day rip. It's 5 days worth of stuff. And so we start packing in there. And it's just tough to hike with rain gear on. And it's like misty as we're leaving and then just turns into a downpour and eventually snow as we make it to 9,000 feet. But it is so soaking wet. Like I had gaiters on. I had shoes, and my Zamberlins, they keep waterproof like far longer than any boot or shoe I've ever used. And with gaiters and those shoes, it's like those things are money. But I'm using a pair that I had used all last season, so they're a year and a half old or so. And I actually used them in Colorado. Feet didn't get wet at all, so I thought I was pretty well good to go. Well, I must have worn off the waterproofing of these shoes. We just got soaked going in there. It was so wet. It was not only the rain and pouring down, it was just all the brush. And I decided to go in off trail, and so we had to go up this creek bottom, and the sagebrush, the trees, the everything is just so saturated. It's been raining for 2 days straight, and it just couldn't be wetter going in there. It's like my shoes were like a swimming pool by the time I got in there, which I've dealt with before. But like I say, I'm so confident in these Zamberlins and the waterproofing that I always have dry feet. It's just these shoes, the waterproofing has worn out on them. So I did have a replacement pair, which I should have brought in there. I just thought these were good to go, and they were so broke in. They felt so comfortable on my feet, and so I hike us in there, and I just get us so soaking wet to start with. And we're hiking in the dark for 4 hours. We don't get in there till midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning. Just absolutely drenched from head to toe. Luckily, Carter's boots were waterproof, but we set up our tents. It's snowing, and also the navigation. Like, I had marked water, and I roughly knew where this flat camp spot is, but we're 9,000 feet. Like, there's no level spots other than my one spot that I know that we're camping in. And hiking up there, the fog got so thick where you can hardly see your hand in front of your face. It's dark. It's pouring down rain, and we're backpacking 5 days worth of gear in there. So a bit of a mistake right off the bat, but it's like, I definitely, I have toughness and grit, and cameraman has it as well. And so, it's all systems go. We're trying to kill a bull, get in there. I mean, we'll be in there early. We get a morning hunt. And so we set up our tents and got in. And I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. I mean, this time around, it's like after every backpacking trip, I cut weight out of there. And so, Colorado, I did pretty good, or that high country deer hunt, I did pretty good at like packing my stuff. And, but there's always a few extra things that it's like I could really go without. And a pound, it just wears on you having to carry it miles and miles and miles. And so, I have like this minimalist mindset, and after every first backpacking trip of the year, I cut weight out. So one thing I did in that high country hunt is I had brought a bigger pair of 16 binos and my scope and the tripod. And so this time I ditched the binos. I did bring a scope and tripod. I wanted to be able to see bulls from afar, make sure they were what I was looking for. Another place I cut weight is I didn't bring any extra socks. I figure 5 days I can go inside out. It's like it's so minimal as far as weight. But again, you just get I get this minimalist mindset where it's like I'm trying to cut absolutely every ounce I can because it puts wear and tear on my body, and I know I'm going to have to do a bunch of miles in there. So anyways, no extra socks, soaking wet feet, and I get in there. We set up our tents. Now it's snowing, that wet, damp snow, and I'm trying to decide how I should sleep, and I went in with my long johns and my pants on. So now I've saturated my pants, my long johns, my socks, I am just soaked from head to toe. I just figured, well, I'm going to get in my sleeping bag and I'll use my body heat to kind of dry this stuff off, and I'll sleep okay and be able to get up the next day. Again, just no changes of clothes. I've got my puffy gear, which is dry. Should have thrown my puffy pants on to go to sleep. I did not. So I crawled in my sleeping bag soaking wet and took off my socks, and I tried to wring them out and then threw them in my sleeping bag with me. But I was so damp in there that I just didn't sleep all night long. Got down to 26 that night, and I slept maybe 2 hours. Just exhausted. It was like right off the bat of a big week-long elk hunt. It's like I start us off definitely on the wrong foot. So wake up in the morning, bitter cold. I got to throw on wet socks, wet shoes. I did dry out the majority of my clothes. I had to throw on those puffy pants in the middle of the night. Finally got a couple hours of sleep. I was just, it was just cold. And, but, got up at daybreak and did what I do and put on wet socks and wet shoes and my wet gear and got out and got up to the vantage point. It's like, man, it's time to go find some elk. And I get up there, and man, it's just crickets in this place. I had seen some old elk sign coming in, but the way it was raining, should have heard bugles at night, should have heard bugles in the morning, and it was just dead silent. 3 spike elk is all I saw from the vantage point. No bulls around. There's a huge north side timber face where these elk like to refuge. Nothing. No bugles. Didn't see any elk. And roll up the ridge a ways, keep looking, and this first morning session is crickets. And elk hunting's one of those things. You're either in them or you're not, and I was not in them at this point. And so we went back, built a fire, kind of dried things out, got feeling human again, had a cup of coffee, and start working on the game plan again. It's like, gosh, where are we going to go find elk? And so I could have kept going in further. There was another drainage I wanted to check out, but it just, it's like it just didn't seem like the elk were in that area. And so, and maybe the way I should have gone about this is I should have got there and slow played it, done a day or two of reconnaissance of glassing from afar, from kind of hiking in a few spots, find the elk, and then go into the elk and then camp in there. But I didn't do that. I was so confident there was going to be elk there, was going to be action, that I packed up all my gear and I was all in on this backpacking spot. So right off the bat, 2 hours of sleep, dry out, and I know I've got to move. And so instead of going in deeper into this country, I just decided, let's pack up our stuff. We're back down to the truck. We got to find some elk, and then we'll go get into them. And so anyways, we packed up our stuff and headed out of country. And in the meantime, checked in with my good hunting buddy. He was hunting down there, and he had some pretty good action where he was at. So this is a spot that we found a few years ago. So I know the spot well, and pretty much where I was pointed to go over there. But it was nice to talk to my buddy. It was Dan Haver, and talk to him. And he's like, man, been into some bowls. It seems like there's elk around this area. And come in here, come join me, meet me at the road here, and we'll go in. And so, it is awesome to have like a great circle of friends in this communication. I have buddies down in this unit. I found this unit years ago, and I've shared it with friends along the way, and I've hunted it together with them. And it's like I don't like to hunt in a big group, like 3-4 guys together, but I usually nowadays have a cameraman with me, and so I'll hang with a buddy or a couple buddies, and then we'll split up and go our separate ways. And it seems to work really good. And I've got this this friendship where I know I can trust these guys and they know they can trust me, and I'm pulling for their success and they're pulling for mine. And so to be able to have these guys and get current information of what's going on. I had another couple buddies hunting down there, and they invited me to come into where they were at. They had been seeing some elk, and it's just nice to have like these genuine good friendships and to have this network of guys that I know, that I trust. And it's like, if I'm not into elk, well, somebody else is, or somebody else is getting plays, which gives me confidence that they're rutting somewhere, or there's elk around. And it's so nice of these guys to offer like, hey, come in here, come hunt this spot or whatever. And anyways, that's what my buddy Dan did. He was into him, had found him. It's a spot that we hunted years ago, and it was going pretty good. And so met up with Dan and made a game plan. And Dan actually sent me to this back basin back there. And he's like, hey, I've been hunting this place for a couple days. It's been pretty red hot. I'm chasing this bull and this bull. I know where this bull is. He's like, man, I chased a good bull back in this canyon a couple days ago. Like, he's really tough to kill in there. He's in a tough spot. But I think you should go back in that canyon and go look for him. He was a heck of a good bull. So I said, yeah, no problem. Yeah, I'd love to go back in there. It's like, so we start hiking in, and man, I mean, we're only the second day in. Of course, I'm running on about 2 hours of sleep here, and so meet up. We head in there early in the afternoon, and so I'm getting up to this center ridge, way up this drainage, where Dan sent me and told me this bull was, and the bull's supposed to be right, but all of a sudden I look left and I catch some cows coming out of this ridge line, and then I see a good bull. He's a good, tall 6-point mature bull. They're actually in a perfect spot with the wind going left to right where I could slip down below them and get up in the trees and come down through. And one of the biggest keys to my success this season is like keeping the element of surprise, not let these elk know I'm hunting them. And so they're in the perfect place for a stalk with a perfect wind, and they're just feeding this ridgeline. But I can't get out of where I'm at. I'm too exposed. I try getting a tree in between me and them, and I just run out of cover. And so finally, I just sit and watch them. And it's fairly early in the afternoon. I just know if I don't bust any elk, I'm going to get a chance at them later on. Like, I can get on them. And so I sit and watch them, half hour, 40 minutes, whatever it is. And they finally feed over the ridge line. And so then I can make my move. And so make my move up and to the top. They were feeding down to the left. I actually thought they were going to go down to this bottom and get some water and down in the willows and maybe rut in there. They tend to go to the openings. It's kind of like a big sagebrush opening in there, and thought I'd catch them right there. And I get to the top and I just can't hear them. I can't see them down to the left. And I'm just staying kind of still and slow playing it, making sure I'm not giving myself away to elk down below me, making sure I have the wind right, making sure that everything's correct. And finally, I hear a faint bugle like up and to my right. And so they had wrapped the hill and they'd kind of side hilled over and glass up a few cows. And the bull isn't going nuts, but he's definitely bugled a handful of times. I start working that way. I can see all the cows. They're in this patch of aspens. I can't see the bull, but I know I heard him bugle up there. I'm sure that's his cows. And so I start slipping down, and I start walking away from the elk so I can get down to the bottom so I'm concealed so I can get up to that aspen patch. And it's just tough to hide from them. You got all these cows that are feeding in the open, and they're typical cows. They don't know they're being hunted. They feed a lot, but one always has its head up, is always looking for danger, and they catch movement so well. So at one point, in trying to put trees in between us and them, at one point I run out of cover to get to the bottom, and so I actually have to slide like on my back. And I had my cameraman watch the elk for me and give me hand signals. If any elk picked up their head, I have him give me a stop signal. And then if not, I keep sliding down the hill and get down there, and then vice versa. Like, I keep my eyes on the elk. I give him hand signals. He slides down on his back. We finally make the bottom, and we start cruising up. But I haven't seen or heard this bull now for quite a while, like an hour at least. I think he maybe bedded in those aspens, but I'm not sure if he left the cows and went around the corner or what went on. But I just figure if I can get close to these cows, he's got to be there somewhere, He'll be coming back around. There'll be a bull come in. I mean, we're getting close to peak rut, 13th, 14th, somewhere in there, I believe. I have to look at my photos and see when the date was. But they're rutting pretty good. And so just start getting into the cows and, again, just not giving myself away. And I creep into bow range of these cows and could have shot a bunch of them. I just can't find the bull. I circle back around. And at this point, I have a downhill thermal that's coming down the draw, down off the hillside, down to me. It's a really good wind. So just creeping around these cows, move back over to the left, using the undulation, the topography, keeping the element of surprise, just looking for a chance on them. And finally, I catch that 6-point bull. And it is that bull that I had seen on the ridge that was a good one. He's got good long tines, huge swords, like big fours, and just a really nice, mature 6-point bull, one that I'm looking to shoot. And he's in there, and he starts rutting cows in front of me and just gives me a show. And I'm trying to creep up and, use the cover and the undulation. And, there's times where I have to stop when a cow picks up her head or maybe stares in my directions. And there's times when I have to freeze for 10, 15, 20 minutes. And then the cow, kind of forgets about it, starts feeding around. And they never busted me. They never caught movement. I'm able to move in with 2 guys, and I'm just right in there in bow range of the cows, and the bull's just outside. And then he puts on a show in front of me. He comes back and starts chasing these cows around and rutting them and skylined, and he's about 100 yards away. Cows are closer and things, and I'm just trying to make something happen. And then every chance I get, I'm trying to close in and get some more yards on him. And he puts on this show, and they finally work over to the left. I'm stuck for a little while there. I'm exposed to the elk. I can't move. I just got to stay still and just watch the show. But they move to the left. I take chase, and I figure, well, I'll catch them right over the top. And I get over the top, and they're just out of range there. And so I start playing around. Can I go around the right? Can I go around the left? And I'm just trying to get any yardage I can. And it's fairly open sage, but rolling hills. And, at one point I try to go up and around, but the wind just isn't going to work. I'm going to give my wind to the cows. It's just not going to happen. And so I make this call. We gotta drop down. We gotta circle around these elk all the way around them. So circle down below, keep the wind right, and come up down below. And so, we make our move. We have to go lower than I think. I'm running out of light. At this point, I've been hunting this bull for 3 hours of this cat and mouse game, which is just amazing. It's like the funnest game to play. Never gave us away. We circle around. And I asked the cameraman, I'm like, you got enough light? And he's like, yeah, I got enough light. We've got shooting light, but, we're getting down. Like, it's starting to be lower light conditions. But I've got this strong wind right in my face. And now I've circled around the elk, and now I have them moving into me. So they're feeding towards me, which is just the perfect scenario. And these cows come and feed, 20 to 70 yards from me. And this bull's just putting on a show. And the bull actually stays back, and he's like, well, I don't know, 140, comes into 115, comes into 105, and I'm not sure if it's going to come together. I'm just running out of light, and he's just preoccupied with cows up there, with a tree. Finally, he's the last one. All the cows are 20 to 70 yards, and he's still out there at 100 plus. And finally, he starts walking in and walks into range towards the backside of those cows. Totally concealed, nothing knows I'm there, and execute a shot there, put an arrow in him, and he actually runs towards me about 10 yards, grab another range, and then put another arrow into him. I think, got him again with another good arrow, and then he ran over and then tipped over. I think that second arrow, he was broadside when I shot at him, and I think he spun into the arrow a bit. It kind of he was broadside when I was shooting at him, and that second arrow got him kind of on the front of the shoulder and then through the body in there. And looking at the footage, yeah, I think he reacted. Like I always say, elk wait for the arrow, don't jump the bow. But I already had an arrow into him, and I think when I shot, he kind of spun into the arrow and he caught it in front of the shoulder, but it was a perfect angle because he spun into it, and then he went all the way through him there and caught lungs with that arrow as well. So he didn't make it far with 2 arrows, 2 cuts in him. He ran out, I don't know, maybe 40 yards or something like that, and tipped over. And just a great 6-point bull. And for elk season for me, like one of those bulls makes my season. I had a couple elk tags this year, but it's like if I could just kill one good bull, I'm a happy man. And it just came together so quick. It was a 3-hour play, but again, I didn't let him know I was there. It was a bull I wanted to kill, played the game, and I just made the right moves, got in front of them. They fed into me. But it was just an epic encounter. Got to hear him bugling and carrying on. And then, part of elk hunting that I love too is just the processing. And so sent my buddy Dan a message on the Delorme, and he went looking for me in the middle of the night. We had like kind of this rough way we were talking about things like, oh, the main drainage, or, oh, the aspen grove, or, oh, the this or the that. And so I tried to describe to him where I was, but he didn't show up till I was quite a bit after dark. He's like, oh, I went up. I thought you were up that draw up there, and he had walked up the wrong draw. But he found me middle of the night. He's such a good buddy. But part of the thing I love about elk hunting is, they're just a lot of work. No matter what you're doing, like hunting those mountains is a lot of work. This spot where I killed this bull is all 2-3 hours in there. Is a pretty good go in there. And, just processing them in the dark, reliving the encounter. And then, I'm just about processed with the bull, and my buddy Dan shows up, like one of my best friends. And, he's stoked for me. And so he helps, and we load up. We all load up some meat. We'd gone in there light without our backpacking gear. It's probably a spot that's far enough back we should backpack into, but we kind of went light with our day packs in and through there. So everybody could load meat, but we didn't load up super heavy that night. Like, I don't know, maybe 60 pounds a piece, something like that. Maybe 70, something like that. And get to pack out with my best buddy, this bull, and then get him out and then come back in the morning at first light. Got nice and cold that night, and came in with my cameraman, told Dan to go ahead and hunt the morning. And so me and the cameraman went and got another load off that bull, took the rack, and made our last load out. But I love the work that goes with elk hunting, the processing and the packing out. It just like gives me this chance to reflect upon the hunt, upon the encounter, how fortunate I am to have the time to go chase elk, and then to kill, a great mature 6-point bull, public land, do it yourself, like easy to draw unit. Just means the world to me. It's just a testament to the hard work that I've put in over the years. Like, I love bow hunting with every fiber in my being, and I have worked tirelessly at improving my skill sets to be the best I can be. And that's, honing my craft is, and there's like, if you have one weak link, you don't get these opportunities. So if you're not good at shooting, you don't kill the bull. If you're not good at stalking, you blow the bull up before you get a chance. If you're not good at finding locations, finding new units, finding places where elk are, locating them, you don't get into this bull. Like, there's just so much that goes into being a complete hunter, and to have it all come together, and it's this giant 6-point bull that I'm super stoked with, just absolutely means the world to me. Like, I know I set out to do this years ago. I had this goal set in my mind, and I knew that if I worked towards it, I could achieve this goal. And my goal was to kill a 320 bull every year with my bow. And at the time, like, man, it was a really lofty goal. It's like, man, you really want to kill the top of the heap every single year with your bow and arrow. There's not many guys out there doing it, or anybody doing it. I know there's guys out there doing it. There's some great bow hunters. They kill great bulls. But, back when I was setting these goals 10 years ago, even 20 years ago, I just couldn't quite get it done. And I killed some good bulls and some good bucks and things. But it just seemed like you only get so many chances through a season. Your chances aren't going to be endless. Like, you're going to get these opportunities at bulls, and it just seemed like they were a step in front of me. They just, I had this great bull back in the backcountry, and then I'm making a play on him. He's in a good spot, and all of a sudden he meets me on the ridge, and he's 5 yards away, and he spooks, and I don't get a shot. Or the bull stops with a tree right behind him and his vitals, and I'm at full draw, and I'm held there, and he walks out. Or I miss, or I mess up an encounter. I get too aggressive, and I stalk these elk, and you'll hear about like some of my patience on the next hunt I had. But I never blew these elk up. I never blew up the cows. I never blew up the bull. In my younger years, I may have pushed too hard for an opportunity, blown up these elk, and never got a chance at last light with the wind right in my face, moving around these elk and them moving into me. there's like all these things that I just couldn't quite get right. And again, I started killing bulls and being consistent and killing great bulls. Uh, but it's like now. I mean, you look back at the last few seasons and the bulls that I've been able to harvest. It's just been incredible, and it's just these small moves or small adjustments or learning from my hunting, and then it's continuing to put in the work, man. It's like all these running miles I put in. I put more muscle on my frame this year. It's having the time off work, so working really hard, making sure that I'm scheduling my time, making sure that I'm set up right to go hunt. It's all the shooting, like just trying to be the absolute best archer I can be, and transitioning being a good shooter on targets to being a good shooter on animals, knowing how to place that pin, knowing how to execute a good shot. It's all these things that I didn't get good at over a year, or even 2 or 3 years. It's been a lifetime of dedication to my craft of bow hunting. Being able to find these new units in new places. Like I found this unit from a tip from somebody from like scratch, and Dan did help me send me this canyon where the great bull was. That's like another part of it, is like having good friends and things. But the point is I found this unit on my own out of scratch, just doing the research, putting in the time, e-scouting, maps, going down there scouting. I drove down there multiple times. I found bulls, and now I've harvested a couple bulls. Like I've paid my dues in there to where I've really learned the country and learned these spots. And this spot, Dan sent me, is a spot that me and Dan found together, a few years back. And it was a spot that we found that we made a great stock on a bull. It didn't come together, but you know what? It like paid dividends this time, as I'm able to kill a good bull in there. So it's all this combination of all these things that come together. I'm only going to get so many opportunities, and now I'm getting good at capitalizing on those opportunities. So you guys heard my high country mule deer hunt where I had a few opportunities or stalks, and I didn't get it right on all of them. I had that buck jump my string, but eventually got it right. Well, on elk now, it's just like I found a good bull that I wanted to shoot. It was one opportunity, one chance, hunted him for 3 hours, put a good arrow into him or a couple good arrows into him, and he's a done deal. So just means the world to me. It's like, gosh, to accomplish my goals, to work hard all year long and then arrow a great 6-point bull feels pretty good. So I like those pack outs, getting that heavy weight on my shoulders and packing it out, just thinking, reliving the hard work. And for me, it's like climbing Everest. Like I love putting in all the work, and I love seeing it come together in a dream bull for me. So bull down, pack it out, get it out of country, get it on cooler on ice. Had her point her back towards home. Got to take care of this bull and things, and then told Dan, give me a shot if you kill one in here. I'll drive back down, help you pack it out. I got to get my cameraman on the road, get him sent back, and so leave Dan in there, and he has some good action in there the next couple days chasing those things around. And then, I'm ready. I've got like another elk season, and I kind of feel like it came together so quick. So it was a couple days, 3 days with the pack out of hunting elk. And I did get to hear that bull bugle, and I got this epic play on him, but I'm kind of missing like that epic running action. Like it came together pretty quick. I know it's a good problem to have. Like accomplished my goal. It feels great. I've killed a good bull. Pressure's off. But I have another elk tag, and I have a good elk tag, place that I haven't hunted in a couple years, but I have a ton of knowledge in, and I've done a bunch of e-scouting. I'm really stoked to get in there. I got another cameraman, new guy, Cole. All my cameramen have just been so stellar this year. I had Wes Yoder, I had Carter, I had, and now Cole's coming in. Cole's from the Midwest, but he's just been running all year long. He had a big hunt in Colorado in the high country in there. And the guy's like really dedicated, really wants a chance. And he had called me earlier in the season and put together this hunt for him. And I'm like, yeah, man, I think this one will be a good fit. And so he flew out, grabbed him at the airport. And I had all of the stuff all packed up. And we head to a new spot. And spot I haven't hunted in a couple years, or a unit I haven't hunted. Now I have a new area in here that I want to go check out. So that first afternoon, evening, I'm like, man, I got this new spot. I'm not sure if it's going to pan out, but I've e-scouted it. I think this is a money spot. Like, let's go in here. And so kind of trying to figure out the road systems and how to get in there and the access. Private public, it's a game that us public land hunters play a lot, where we're trying to figure out where a main road crosses the public, which road we have to be on. This unit, I had to hike through a block management area. Block management is like public access. Private landowners give public access to their property. They just have rules that you have to follow, like you have to sign in, in a sign-in sheet, and they're like, just rules that you can't, whether it's you can't camp on it, or don't park in front of gates, or like whatever their rules are. I try to read through all their rules and follow them to the T, as it's such a great program that they open up more land for us to publicly hunt. And this gave access to some state land, or I believe it was state or Forest Service land. Anyways, it gave access to that come in from this block management. And so we head in there and get in there the first night. And I'm still trying to figure it out. I kind of know a high spot I want to go up. We kind of work up that high spot, and we're sitting there 6:30. It's getting darker. I can see all these great elk features, but I haven't heard a bugle, haven't seen a bull. And all of a sudden, and I'm starting to kind of like, okay, where's the next spot? We got to go tomorrow morning. We got to keep moving. We got to find elk. And but we got to give her all to this location and this spot while we're in there. We've hiked all the way in there. It's last light, and, it's kind of hotter weather. And so, these elk can show up at last light. And sure enough, I hear a bugle to my right. Sounds like a pretty good bull. And then see these cows coming up and see a flash of this bull, and then see him come out and start rutting these cows. And he's just a bomber 6-point, like just big, long tails, big, long fore. Like, I was looking for a better bull than I just killed, and he fits the bill. He's a monster, It's like, oh, man, that's a good bull. I really like to kill that bull, like, if I can get a chance at him. And so he's in a pretty good location with the cows, but I know the wind's going to change at any time, because I kind of got it coming up and at me, like a directional or a thermal, and I know those thermals are going to start to drop as it's 6:30. It's getting later. We're going to start to get shaded. Wind's going to drop. And sure enough, I'm like watching this bull getting ready to make a play, and the winds just switch 180 degrees, start coming down. The bull actually works back in the timber, and so now with the wind, I've got to circle all the way around. I actually caught a satellite bull down below me, 6-point down there. So I kind of wait for him to kind of feed off. I just don't like busting any elk or letting any elk know that I'm there, no pressure. And I've spooked those satellites before, and they spook into the herd and take the herd with them. So I let them feed over the top, and I make a play. I get around, get the wind right, get to another vantage point where I can kind of see where this bull is headed through the timber, where I think he's headed to this sage bench, and I catch him right there, and he's moving. I look at Cole. I'm like, man, you think we got enough light? And he's like, no, we don't. I'm like, I don't think we do either, but I got to try. It's like these bulls, they're just, you never know if you're going to catch them the next day, and you have to take these opportunities when they're there. I just killed a bull at last light, and I had more light than I thought towards the end, and, I always, I want my cameraman's input, or like we're a team trying to get it done. It's almost like two buddies teaming up together, and it is like an added degree of difficulty, especially spot and stalking, as I got to get two people into range. But this bull is just in like too good of a position, too good of a spot. The wind is absolutely perfect, and it's a dream bull for me. It's like, man, I just got to make a try at him. So I hustled down. He's like, oh, what did Cole tell me? The kid's just all in, right? And so he was just being honest with me when he didn't think we could get to him. And I think he is right, but I just have to try. Like, I won't be able to go to sleep that night unless I give it a go and try to get over there, because I might just catch him at last light in the perfect spot. And he goes, what'd he say? He's like, yeah, if you can run over there, I'll be right behind you. Just something to the, like, all of a sudden his mindset switches, like, yeah, whatever you think, like, I trust you, like, let's go. Like, I will jog the whole way, whatever it takes to kill that bull. And so all of a sudden we take off. Oh, this, let me finish this, and then I have this, I have a couple broadhead, or like, arrowheads that sit on my desk here that I found, and I did find a piece of obsidian before I killed that last bull, and I had found an arrowhead the year before, or maybe it was 2 years before, I found an arrowhead on a ridge line above a bull I had killed that day. That night I went out to go glass and there was an arrowhead laying right in the dirt. Anyways, I think it's always like a good omen to find worked obsidian in the country that I'm hunting, of our ancestors like doing the same thing I'm doing. Anyways, really cool. I'm sorry, it's getting off topic, but so I make a play at that bull. It's getting dark. Drop down, make a go at him, and get up there and start creeping up the ridge. And it's all about knowing what pace to move, again, using the undulation and topography to hide our movement, and then, trying not to make a lot of noise. It's fairly still. Like, I do have a downhill wind, but it's fairly still. And I got us in, like, this gray sand that I was just able to move really quietly. And I get up there, and then I see the bull. He's 150 yards away, and Cole was right. We're out of light. We just don't have enough light to shoot that bull or make a move where he is. And so back out of there, and can still hear him bugling at night, and he's going off, and he's got, a big dragon bugle. He's a great big mature bull. And, we drop down and listen to him, and I'm like, man, that was epic. We gave it a chance, and so we hike out that night in the dark, never spooked him, kept our wind right, nothing knew we were hunting him, so we'll find him the next morning. And so went out. It's a late one by the time we make it back, by the time we get some sleep, and then head back in early in the morning to hike back down there in the dark. And it's, it's not like it's tough. So as you're talking miles, you've got GPS miles, which is in a straight line as the crow flies. You have steps, you have tracker, you have like all these ways to track your miles. And so, I think we're like a few miles in there. So we're not like super deep, but to cover a few miles, walking through the sage and everything else, it takes a bit of time. Like, got to figure an hour and a half to make that many miles. I think maybe 20-minute miles, something like that, hiking hard. But anyways, we make it out, we get some sleep, we head back in the next morning, and we're stoked. Like, we've got some elk we're chasing, we've got a great big old 6-point bull, and we get down there and we just can't find them, can't hear them, nothing. So I keep looking to the right. I have other canyons I can check, and I grab a great vantage point. Starting to get to like mid-morning. It's like 7:30, 8 o'clock. I haven't heard or seen any bulls, and all of a sudden I hear a bugle. And he's way across the canyon, and it sounds like a dragon of a bugle. It's probably that big 6-point. And so we start making a play. We start getting the wind right, and they're bugling like crazy. It's like one of those rut fests. So there's the big bull. There's another big bull that they're bugling back and forth. I caught 2 satellites. One's a 6x7. Another one's like a small 5. And then I caught a really good satellite, like 330 satellite 6 that doesn't have any cows. It's moving his way to the party. So it's like, oh, man, we got some action. They're bugling back and forth, and we're starting to play the game, and we're going through the cedars, and I catch those 2 satellites, kind of get stuck by them, have them dang near at bow range. They kind of feed off over the hill. I hear the 330 coming over, catch another 6-point down in the bottom down in there. Like, it's just elk hunting paradise. It's like what you dream about when you get in a big rut fest. And so I start trailing that big bull as he's moving right to left, finally getting his zone, and I'm moving. Never do get eyes on him, but kind of follow him to his last known position, and he's hot. He's having to fight off these satellites, so he's bugling pretty good, and finally shuts up about 9:30 or so. And I'm just positioned about as close as I can with a good vantage point and a great wind. And this day is like a dream day where I've got a 10 to 20 mile an hour wind, and it's coming straight from, left to right in front of me, or it's right in my face as I'm chasing the bull. And then this bull puts away in a timber patch, and I hear him bugle, and then 9:30 shuts up. Everything kind of quiets down, can't see any more elk. So it's not one of these rut fests where they go all day long or till noon. I've definitely seen those before too, but, they kind of shut up, pretty classic, like elk hunting. And then, about 12:30 or so, I hear the bull, and he starts bugling again. He's going off. He's like checking his cows in there in the timber. And I just have these rules. And I've told you guys, like spot and stalking, I've honed my craft at stalking these elk where I just don't make calls. It's just my style for these herd bulls. And I've learned the moves that I can make and set out these rules for myself for being able to make plays on these elk and get them killed. And, Cole's asking me questions the whole time, like, gosh, should we go in after him? And, he's definitely tempted. I heard quite a few calls, but it's just real thick cedars where he's at in there. I don't know exactly where he is, and I don't have good luck going in it after him in their beds. I end up spooking them and then not getting a play in the evening, and so I've got a good win. They're in those cedars. I'm tempted to go play on him. He bugles 15, 20 times in the middle of the day. And I'm tempted to go make a play, but I hold off. And I'm like, Cole, man, we'll kill this bull in the evening. If I knew exactly where he was at, I would make a play. But not knowing where he's at, where the cows are at, how thick those cedars are, it's just not a high opportunity play. And so we continue to wait. We're just going to wait it out throughout the day. And a couple of hours goes by. All of a sudden, I hear another bugle, and I look up there, and on the edge of the timber, I can see the bull. And he's got a dragon of a bugle. I'm sure it's that 6-point from the day before. And I get a good look at him. I'm like, no, he's got 7 on one side. And then he turns a little bit, and he's got 7 on the other side. I'm like, no, that's not him. That's a different bull. He's a 7-point. Just a dream bull. Just so pretty. 7 full points, 7x7. Over the years, I've got chances at big bulls. I've got chances at 7s. I've killed a couple 6x7s, small point on their back. There was one time I messed up on like an 8-point one time, and it was just a dream bull, and that one kind of haunts me. I kind of dropped down in on him in his, like they were just like starting to meander around, getting ready to bed, and I thought I had a good win and dropped down, and as I drop down, because I've got a good thermal that's coming uphill, but as I drop down into the canyon, it's cooler in the canyon, and I kind of get some bad wind in there in that mid-morning or late morning, dropping down on that 8-point, and they caught my wind and blew out of there, and that was my chance at like that big bull. And I've definitely had chances at big bulls over the years, and I've arrowed some great bulls. But to have a chance at a 7x7, like just this beautiful big bull, just a dream bull, is pretty awesome. And so I see this bull. He's on the edge of the timber. I don't see any cows with him, and he's just feeding on the edge of the timber. And we're only 300 yards away, and I've got like this great approach to him, and I'm like, Cole, grab your stuff. We're going to go kill that bull. And it's middle of the day, but I'm going to go in after him. And I get in there to where I last saw him, and I'm just creeping, and I've got that 10 to 20 mile an hour wind, and I want to just poke in there a bit, see if he's still on his feet, see if I can find him in there. And as I poke in, I look to my left, and I catch his antlers. So I can catch that 7x7 rack, and he's bedded right there. And he's bedded at 37 yards. And I freeze us. I stop. Nothing knows we're there. I can see him turn his head, and he has no idea. We've snuck right into his bedroom, and he's bedded there, but he's in the thick stuff. So I'm looking at windows. I'm trying to get my range. I'm trying to stay, calm, cool, collective, so I can make good decisions and kill this bull. And eventually I see a cow in front of him because she starts moving her head, and so he's with a cow. And he's just bedded there, and we wait for 30, 40 minutes. And it's just sun beating down on us, middle of the day. And I'm just waiting for a chance on this bull. I've got a couple windows now. I've kind of seen what I've got. And the cow gets up in front of him. And then not long after, the bull gets up, and I'm looking, and I've got nothing in there. I mean, I've got branches. I can kind of see his body. I can kind of see where I want an arrow. Eventually, he works into 33 yards. And I'm just trying to look with my binos. Is there any way? And I just learned through experience. It's like trying to force it through those branches isn't good. Like if I get a window on them, I can put an arrow in there, but I'm not going to force it. The cow comes out to the right, comes out at like 30 yards. I'm like, oh, great, here we go. Like he is going to follow that cow up, and I'm going to shoot him right here at 33 yards or 30 yards, right where that cow came out. They have no idea I'm there. I've got this great wind, and we're staged in a great spot, kind of in the shadows, standing. And the bull starts to follow her. It's like, oh, man, here we go. And now he's just in like these sparse branches where I can see his whole body and things. I've just got limbs and stuff in the way. It's like just a tough shot to make. Impossible, really. It's like, I guess you could put one through there and, maybe get through the branches, maybe deflect off a branch, but it's just not a good shot. Cow's totally open and broadside, and then she turns around, walks back in the brush. And that bull never comes out of that window and then turns around, starts walking back, and then he stops a couple times. I'm just trying to look for a window. I mean, he's 35 yards in there. He's so close. Like, if I can just get an arrow in there to his vitals, I'll kill him. And there was an opportunity. I was trying to look for a shot in the branches, and he started walking to his left. And he's going to walk through a window, but I'm not sure if I'm going to get the window or not. Like, I know there's an opening there, but is he going to be too low? Is he going to be, a bad angle in there? I'm not sure how he's going to come through the opening. So if he stops in the opening, I can probably get a chance at him. And in hindsight, he did walk through an opening where I had a window at him. If I could have been at full draw and I could have gave him a ew and stopped him, I probably could have put that shot on him 35 yards and it would have been a done deal. It just would have had to be so precise, such precision, like with my moves and what I did, and in that kill mode, not a move that I couldn't make. I also found out later my cameraman was going to have to take a step to the right. That movement would have killed us. The other thing that I think would have killed me is trying to draw on him when he's like quarter facing me at 30 yards. I think he would have picked up on that movement, and if he stops right where he's at, I don't get a shot. So I'm trying to draw, and then when he comes through the window, cow call, stop him right in that spot. But if I don't stop him in that spot and he takes another step, or if he sees me drawing, the whole gig is up. And so, like, I just played it like patience kills the bull. I know it. Like, be comfortable here. You're in bow range. You've been here before. You make the right moves now, and you're going to have a dream bull. And the bull walks off, walks through the window. I don't draw back. I don't try to cow call, don't try to stop him. And then he starts rutting a cow, and they're kind of rutting over the hill, but they've gotten in those thick cedars in there again. And so I kind of try to get a window through there where I can see, and I've just got nothing down in there. And they're in these thick cedars, and there's more cows than just the one. There's a couple of them down there. It's like the herd and him. And I just decide, I tell Cole, I'm like, man, we just got to back out. So here we are, 40 yards away from the bull or whatever, and we're going to back out of bow range. Like, it seems crazy. He's like, we're going to do what? I'm like, yeah, we're going to back out. We're going to kill him this evening when he comes out, when we can get him. I just know if I go in there, in that stuff after him, I'm going to blow up the cows. One of those elk is going to see us. There's two of us. It's just not going to work, man. It's just, so again, it's like you have to rely upon these instincts and this decision-making ability. And I've come up with this program, how to kill these large herd bulls, and it works for me. It's been working for the last 10 years, especially the last 5 years on big bulls. It's I've been able to accomplish that goal and dream of 320 plus bulls every single season, public land, do it yourself, easy to draw units. Like all that is like I've just been able to like dial in this program that I believe in, that I know that works, and so we got back, and Cole's like, what do you think that bull would have done if you would have called at him or bugled at him or made these moves? And it's like, it may have worked. It's like for some guys that is their play on these elk, but I just like told Cole, I'm like, man, I've just like learned over the years that the big herd bull like that with his cows, like it may have worked. It's 50-50, or who knows if I caught him in the right attitude. There's satellite bulls working around. Like, I don't know, man. May have worked, may not have, but I'm not willing to risk it and let that bull, I know that I'm there and I'm hunting him, because I know in the evening he's going to come out on a feeding feature, and he's going to be in open terrain that I can keep an eye on him and his cows, and I can make a play. And so, for me and my system, I just don't call at him. Like a long time ago, I made this commitment to spot and stalking elk, and I started leaving my calls in the truck, because if I didn't leave them in the truck, I always had my calls on me. And then when I'd get in a situation like that, or I couldn't find the elk or something couldn't happen, it's like, well, just give him a couple calls and see if he responds. And that giving him a couple calls, like sometimes it means nothing and you can still get a play on him in the evening, but sometimes it blows him up, or it lets him know, there's another elk in the area and he wants to take his cows out of there. Maybe he even knows like it's a hunter and now I'm being targeted, like this doesn't feel right. And so over the years, I just don't call at him. I just believe in my system. And so I told Cole that. We backed out from 40 yards. We grabbed our gear, and then we got to a good vantage point and set up where I thought these elk were going to feed out. And he goes, well, what happens if they feed out on the other side of the trees? And I'm like, they could definitely do that. Like, elk don't always come out where they go in. In fact, I don't know if it's rare, but it's I don't even know if it's 50-50. Sometimes they go in the timber a certain way, they come out a certain way, but a lot of times, I'd say more than 50%, the elk go in one way and then they come out a different way. They might work through a drainage. They might come out to a meadow on the other side. They may work up towards the middle of the day and come out up top. But I've just found that these elk don't always come out where they go in. Well, I don't know where these elk have come in, but they've definitely come in on the right side of the timber, I believe lower. So they did work higher, and then they're going to come out there is what I'm thinking. It's like, well, what if they come out on the other side of the timber? And it's like, well, we'll hear him if he does. Like, there's enough satellite bulls around. He's hot enough. We'll hear him over there in the evening. We'll know he's on a feeding feature, and then we'll work our way over there and try to get on him. We can't grab a vantage point on that side because the wind's wrong on that side. And there is no vantage point. Like, there's, it's hardly ever do you find a vantage point that's perfect of what you want to see. Like, you're kind of just adapting and getting the best you can. Like, even the vantage point we had, it's a pretty good play on this bull, and we can see that right side of the timber. We're certain he's in there because we've seen him, made plays on him. We haven't spooked him. So, I mean, we got a decent spot, but it doesn't ever seem like there is, like, the perfect master vantage point over where the elk are. You're always just trying to make do or get a window through the trees or just something where you can see. But we've got a pretty good knob, and it's got like a big cedar tree on the top. So that cedar tree allows me to be in the shade and kind of poke from the edges, so I'm not in the wide open on this wide open knob, like skylined out where they can see me. And so we get up there, and then we start waiting till evening, and, that is the play. We're just going to wait till evening and pick him up and get on him. And we spot him fairly early in the afternoon, and he is coming out our side of the timber, and he's got a cow in there. He's kind of rutting around on the edge of the timber, and he kind of gets to the opening where now I can see him from the open park. I'm like, now's our time, Cole. We gotta move. We got a good wind. We circle down and around. We have this coulee that leads up to him. We make our way up the coulee, and I kind of get a vantage point to see him, and I just can't see him in there. He's behind this one dead tree. Again, just kind of slow playing it. They are going to come out in the feeding feature. And wait. I just can't see him in there, can't glass him. And then all of a sudden I hear him bugle, and I think he's up over the right, like up where we can't see him. He's worked up the hill a little bit. And I didn't jump in right behind him. It was early enough, and told Cole, I'm like, hey, we need to get back up to the vantage point. So the vantage point we were just on, that we just came down the backside, worked up this bottom coulee, I hike us right back up and onto that vantage point, sneak by the cedar, and look, and I can see all his cows coming out. There's like 8 cows, hear him bugle there again. I'm like, okay, we got to roll around this coulee to the right. And so we make our way down and around. All the cows are kind of over the ridge, and I pop around a cedar and I catch him right there, and he's just feeding and has no idea we're there. And he's by himself. The cows are over the hill. It's a dream scenario. He's right there. And I could have snuck closer and got a shot, but I actually backed up a little bit and up the hill to the right. I was just looking, and I just had some brush in between him and his vitals, but he's just like a big bull just feeding there. Like, a lot of times he's got his head down, and when his head's down, I can move, and I can see about middle of his body up, but I had some brush in the way, so I moved up to my right when his head's down, got Cole set up, said I'm going to shoot him right here, and drew back, and then had a good angle on him, and just like it should be, settle the pin, pull, shot breaks, arrow comes in, he reacts, he runs right into a tree, and then runs over the top. Execute a shot, put a shot on this bull, takes off like he's hit, runs into this tree, and then runs over the top. And when he goes over the top, it's fairly open over the top, and so I kind of hustle to the top to see if I can see him and keep my eyes on him. As he was going away and he ran into that tree and stopped and then went over, I kind of looked at his side, and I didn't see blood pumping or anything. I couldn't see a blood spot. At one point, I thought I could see a blood spot on the opposite side when he was there, but then I couldn't tell, and he moved, and I just wasn't sure, and never could see a spot where he was hit when he ran away from the side I was shooting at. And so, talking to Cole, and Cole goes, I don't know, man. I think you may have missed him. It looked like the arrow was coming in low. I'm like, no way. I'm like, man, I executed a perfect shot. And he's like, well, the wind is right in our face right there. Could have knocked down your arrow a bit. I'm like, yeah, there was some brush I was trying to avoid there. but God, Cole, there's just no way, man. It's like I had the pin right on him. I executed a shot. It wasn't a close shot, but it wasn't a bomb or anything. Like I think he was in the 60s, somewhere in there. I could have snuck closer, but it was smarter to scoot back and just have him have no idea I was there and execute a good shot. So I scooted back a few yards, and my pin sat on him, executed a good shot. I'm like, Cole, there's no way, man. I was like, the shot was perfect. I executed a good shot on him, ran into the branches. I'm like, we got to go, look for the arrow, look for blood. Couldn't find the arrow where he was standing, the range find back to the cedar, couldn't see it. And the way his body was, like, we couldn't see the lower half of him. I could only see half the body up. So the arrow did kind of disappear below that grass, before I could see it hit. And, it's just like, I was just sure I executed one of my best shots. I was sure I executed a good shot. And so went back up and, looking around for the blood, looking around for arrow. And I start to check his escape route, and I find the arrow and just a ton of blood right there. It's like, yeah, man. Yeah, I hit him. I said, I knew it was a good shot. I knew I broke a good one, broke it clean. And, there's blood all over, and I can see like part of his lungs in the first bed right there, or like where he was standing. Let me back up. Where he's standing, it's really good blood in and through there, and it's just a trail. It's just coming out everywhere. And so I'm like, man, it's a good hit. Blood covering the arrow, so I got a pass through. I think it actually hung on by the fletchings out the off side, and then when he ran away, it fell out because fletchings are covered in blood as well. No gut smell. Good blood, bubbles all over through it like it's lungs. And so I said, well, let's sit here and we'll give it a little bit. And it's in the afternoon, evening, like it's the start of the evening. So we got maybe like an hour and a half of evening or whatever. But, I definitely want to get on the blood trail with the lights on. And it's, like these critters, like, elk are the toughest animal on planet Earth. It's lungs, heart, or liver, and they die. Anything else, or even the edge of the vitals, and bulls get away, man. It happens all the time. And I've had a really good track record the last handful of years, and not that I've never, there's been some bulls in my past that I haven't recovered, that I make a hit on, that I think's a good hit at times, or I centered a rib one time on a bull and didn't get penetration. The fletchings kicked way up high, and I followed that bull forever in there. I had one in his cavity. I just thought he was dead, and caught him rutting, the next day or later that night, still rutting cows. But I've definitely had a couple in my past as well, and I think anybody that hunts elk long enough has ran into this, even if it isn't personally, if it's one of your buddies. And I've been around the block. Like, I know you got to make perfect shots on bulls or you don't get them. And so, when that goes for all animals, it's like I knew that it wasn't over until I recover this bull, until I get him. And then, I can let loose all this stress or this anxiety about him. Like, there's no celebration at the time. I can't even smile. Like, it's so serious. It's like, I've got an arrow in this bull. I've got to recover him. And I know how elk are, and he didn't fall in sight. So it's like, I know that, I just know, like, this is a pretty serious moment where I've got to be on my game. And so 30, 40 minutes goes by. Say 40 minutes, I want to get on his blood trail and with the lights on. And so I start following the blood trail. And it's one of those blood trails that you dream about, that you just walk behind. And it's actually dumping out of two spots, entrance, exit. And there's two streams of blood coming out of him. And he beds in a spot, and God, it looks like half his lungs are sitting there. It's all oxygenated blood. It's just like, man, he didn't make it far. Like, definitely got lungs. This bull's hit. And so trail him, not far, like maybe 80 yards or 60 yards, and hear him go and jump him out of his bed. Like, worst case scenario, like he would have died right there and jumped him out of his bed. But jumping him out of his bed isn't a heart or a lung shot. Like, I must have a single lung, or I must have liver lung or something. Like, man, oh man, like he just, I just jumped him out of his bed and he went. Now he's got his adrenaline going. And so gave him another 40 minutes there. And really, on a liver hit, you should give him a few hours. So I know that. I've jumped them up. Like, it's obviously not a double lung, but sometimes you jump them up and they get up and that's kind of their last go and they don't make it very far and they die. Like, I've just got all these scenarios playing in my head, and it's 80 degrees that day. So I know that I don't want to leave that bull overnight. Like, I know he will spoil and I will lose the meat if I leave him overnight and try to come back for him in the morning. It's not one of those cool mountain nights. Like, I think, it's hardly even dropping below 55 degrees or 60 degrees. So, I make the decision. Like, he's hit bad. I can see half his lung in that bed. There's blood everywhere. Like, this bull isn't going to make it far just due to the blood trail. Like, I know I've got him hit good. And, so give him another 40 minutes and get after the trail again and start trailing. It's really good blood in and through. He'll stand and bleed. Doesn't really bed down after I jumped him. And, man, I mean, it gets to a point where I start following him a couple hundred yards. And, I actually spot like a group of satellite bulls. There's 3 bulls down there. I actually heard some clanking and some rattling around and horns clanking. And so I'm not sure if a bull's rubbing a tree down there or if he's fighting with my bull that's dead, or I'm not sure what's going on, but I follow him a couple hundred more yards and I've got a good blood trail coming out both sides. But blood trails aren't continuous either. Like, at one point he stood by this sage and I didn't think there could be any blood left by him, or not by the sage, by like a cedar tree. And he's in this group of trees and he stands there and he bleeds out. I mean, at this point, I know what a blood loss death looks like for an animal, and he's bleeding so much in so many of these spots that it's like, man, there can't be much in him. And so he stood by this cedar and bled in just 3 different piles and then walks away. And then it's sparse after he walks out of that spot where he bled forever. And I actually think he was running out of blood in his cavity, or he had just bled so much out. But it's kind of like sparse in there. And start following him into the trees and kind of like lose the trail through like that last little bit. And so I'm kind of like walking over, kind of looking for that spot. And, kind of when I'm blood trailing, I'll look down the likely trails, likely spots he was headed, try to pick up blood again. And I know, it's your chances go way down if you lose the blood trail. The way to get animals, follow the blood trail to a dead animal. And, anyways, I hear Cole. He had walked the trail down to the left. I had walked the one up to the right trying to pick up blood, and he gives me a like that, and I look over, and he's like waving me over. And so I kind of like sneak over there. I can tell that he sees the bull, and so I kind of sneak over there and sneak to him. And yeah, I can see the bull still got his head up right there in those trees. And able to kind of just sneak around, put a finishing arrow in him. He never got out of his bed. He was going to die right there. And spend like the last few moments with that bull. And it's like pretty heavy too. It's, been bow hunting a long time, but it's, this mature bull elk that's lived, in this place for so long. It just kind of hits me, and then I'm like there for his last few breaths. That's, it's, sometimes it's like weird to like love these animals so much and then also harvest them. And I love the meat. I love everything about bow hunting, the challenge. They're not easy to arrow. I don't care who you are or where you're at. It's like such a difficult challenge, and it reminds me of that. It's like, man, I got all these buddies that are great bow hunters that I've learned a ton from, that are all out grinding hard for elk. And here, I arrowed a bull like in, a few days in the one spot. I came to this spot. I found this great 7, just made the right moves, and now, like I've just harvested this bull. Like, it's not easy out there, but to sit there with them, it's like there wasn't even much of a celebration, and it's just like this heavy moment. And but yeah, the first arrow had done its job. He would have died in those first beds. It was a liver 1 lung hit. Just a touch back from, where my pin was sitting, or, how the arrow hit him, or, I don't know, missed my spot by a few inches or whatever the case. But, it was a great arrow, and he was going to die no matter what. And I was going to get him no matter what. But you're just not sure in those moments, when you're following blood trails, and I've seen bad things happen, and, but pretty stoked to like get there and finish him off. And it was the right decision. Didn't, lose any meat, of course, because we recovered him that night. I would have liked to have him just die in that first bed, which most of the time lung hit they do, but it was just a liver and a lung, and took him a while to die there. And I'm glad I made the decisions I did to get him, able to get all the meat out and be all good to go. But yeah, it's pretty wild. It's like my best bull to date, 7-7, and again, just trying to soak it all in and enjoy those moments as they come, the processing, butchering. And we kind of worked him throughout the night and then had a long hike out and then went back in the next morning at first light and went in and grabbed another load and got him out of there. And set up my buddy Dan, like able to repay the favor, like that spot he put me on in that other state. And then he's also got this tag and he had to work, and so he's coming in late. And so, I met up with him that night after I killed my bull, and there's nothing better like getting to share it with a good buddy as well and kind of relive the story. And so he came in late that night. He had been driving after work, and we got out late from hiking a load of that bull out and getting out. So I met up at 1 o'clock in the morning at a camp spot, and then kind of celebrated a little bit, a few hours of sleep, and then able to return the favor and put Dan on some good bulls in that canyon. It's actually a new spot for me. I've never been there. And so it's kind of rewarding to find that spot and then pass it on, have Dan get into some epic hunting as well. And me and Cole got that bull out, best bull to date. And yeah, it's pretty wild. Stay warm that night, but the key is just getting that hide off. The bull dies at 98 degrees or 100 degrees. So as long as it's cooling down, it's good to go. But I was happy to go in there at first light, get him back packed out and on ice. Because it only got to like 56 that night. And the rule is like, was it 55 degrees in so many hours, or you have rapid bacteria growth? But it's like hanging them up. I hung all the meat. It got down to 55 that night. The bull's cooling from 98 degrees, got a good cool on it, and then had that air all the way around it and build that skin around it, and then back at first thing in the morning. And maybe it got a little bit cooler that night in that canyon, like maybe 50 degrees or 48 or something like that. But anyways, yeah, all the meat was absolutely perfect and good to go. That meat care is so important when you get a bull on the ground. It's like the best meat on planet Earth, and just want to do right and do justice by the bull, and it's like your last respect to the animal. It's like, get all that meat out, and will definitely fuel my pursuits for the future as well, for next season, and feed my family. And so like it's all good stuff. So just trying to make the most out of it, make sure I get them out. Pretty awesome feeling. Gosh, I just looked at the time. I've already been talking for 120 minutes. It's crazy. So I plan for this to be an hour, but yeah, we'll just we'll wrap it up. But my best bull to date, just made the right moves this year. It's like found a couple bulls and start making plays, and you have to make 100 right decisions to have everything go right. But yeah, able to capitalize on an amazing opportunity at a giant public land 7x7. Like I got out his ivories and they're just worn down to nothing. Like he is a 9 or 10-year-old bull that's heavy and, just an absolute dream bull for me. Dream season. Like I have gone 7 for 7 this season, and this is always the goal. But I started off with, a giant bear. I went to Hawaii and, it killed a great axis buck there. I was looking for a good next level 30-inch buck and able to kill a good one there. Go to hunt mouflon sheep. Numbers are down. It's tough. They're one of the toughest species I've hunted. Like they are a true feather in the cap for a bow hunter. They are really tough to kill. And last hour of the last day, arrow a mouflon ram. And then more time to hunt antelope this year in August. Did a rip across the state. Able to find and kill my best goat to date. Like 15 inches tall, great prongs, dark mass, make the right moves in open country and arrow that antelope. And then to that mule deer hunt. And in some of the wildest places the lower 48 has to offer. It's just so beautiful and green up there. It's a true adventure, high altitude, high country. The hikes are just killers. The climbs are killers. The miles, and then in for a grinder of a hunt on that thing. 11 days from doorstep to doorstep when I left my house to when I got back, of just full send. And I got plays at like the bucks I dream about. Like for me, just having an opportunity at some of these huge next level critters on public land is like worth the price of admission. And the opportunities are out there, and I find them in every different state and multiple different units. Like there are big bucks and big bulls still left out there. Guys just got to work at it. And to have a chance at like a big heavy mule deer in the high country like that, to have a chance at a huge 6-point bull that, with great 20-inch swords, or have a chance at a 7-point bull, 7x7, it's just amazing. And, I've got to a place to where I run, a pretty good chance at killing those animals. I'm pretty proficient at spot and stalk bow hunting. And, I'm able to capitalize on these opportunities where in my younger years, killed some good bucks and good bulls and made good on some opportunities for sure, but there is a lot of them that got away. And there will continue to be animals get away. I mean, it's one of the beautiful things about what we do is it's really tough to master. And I never, I believe you never stop improving and learning and getting better. At least that's the way I attack it. And it's almost like as I get the bulk of my season down, like I've got a couple more late season mule deer hunts to go on here, which I'm really excited about. But it does come and go so quick. Pretty soon it's over with. And September is pretty much the only month that I don't run. I just put all my focus and effort into hunting and days of field and going for it. And I'm also trying to manage family in between that. And so I don't need to take away from more family time. And not that I got in a couple runs during September and off days or in between days, but it's pretty much the month I take off, which gives me just renewed vigor. And so it wasn't too long back, and I've been on the trails now. I did 5 days in a row and then did a day off, and back on the trails. I'll get another good one today. It's it's a labor of love. Like elk are hard work, backcountry hunting, backcountry bow hunting. It'll break your heart. It's really hard work. It takes years and years to get proficient at. Like you really have to dedicate yourself to it. But success is starting to find me. Like I'm just, like I'm rewarded for all my commitment and effort over the years, and then, getting good at the craft, which is like always been the goal. Like I just absolutely love like wild adventures and wild places. I love the challenge of trying to get on these mature critters. And, even that mule deer hunt, there was bucks I could have killed, but it was to kill one of those big next level ones means the world. And then, to have 2 elk hunts and really just trying to kill one good 6-point bull, and to kill 2 bulls like that, 2 amazing bulls, one that's my best to date is incredible. Like it's still out there, and it just like, at one point it was all over, and it was, at least the big hunts or September hunts, the high country mule deer and elk, 2 of my favorite things to do. It's all over, and it like almost like a bit of like, oh man, it's all over. Like, gosh, it just went so quick. I did make the most of it. I was able to capitalize. Like it was an amazing season, and amazing adventures to these wild places, and able to chase some of the critters I dream about, and then even better yet, able to put good arrows in these animals and able to harvest, some of my best animals to date. Is absolutely wild, man. It's everything I could dream of, but it's still over with. Like it's still, but that's like, I get back and I kind of think I have those thoughts run through my head, and then also just think, well, next year it isn't going to be that easy. It's, next year, I'm going to have to be able to grind to turn up animals like I did this season to try to reproduce a season like this. I got to get back to work. And so back on the trails, back, I was shooting the bow all of September, but shooting the bow for improvement again, to try to improve my craft of archery. And just, it's what makes me the happiest is like being able to do these things and then also work hard towards my goals, put everything into it and come out on top is pretty amazing. And I know that, the next critter I go after. Maybe it's late season mule deer. Maybe it's elk next season. Maybe it's high country mule deers. Like, I'm going to be faced with challenges, and it's going to test me and test my skill set. And it's right now in the off season that I know if I put in the work, like, I'm going to be ready. I'll be ready for the late season mule deer. And so I'm just the happiest when I'm out working hard and in my routine, and I love my life that I've built and the things that I get to do, and I am very fortunate. And so it would be a waste to sit on my laurels, or definitely celebrate my successes. And it's been an amazing season. It's just time to get back to work. It's time to do what I love to do, is work hard towards my goals. And pretty soon I'll be on the mountain bow hunting again, and wishing I'd shot that extra 1,000 arrows, or wishing I'd put those miles in on the trails and in the mountains to where the climbs aren't so tough. Or I'll be middle of the night packing an animal and be glad that I've been doing that weight training to strengthen my back, so my core can hold up a pack with heavy weight and I can grind that meat out of country. Like, yeah, it's a beautiful thing, and something that I absolutely love. And I love it year round, the pursuit of these critters. And I'm just glad that these opportunities are out there and exist, even if it's so far fetched, or it's available for everybody. And I'm just like an average guy that loves to bow hunt, that put everything into it the same as you guys. So there's no reason that you can't accomplish that, or accomplish these goals of arrowing a good buck or a good bull. Like, it's out there. Yeah, it just takes commitment and dedication and hard work, and eventually it pays off. Able to capitalize on opportunities, and I just put together an absolute dream season for me. Dream places, dream critters. Like, I just couldn't draw it up any better, and I couldn't wish for any more. It was pretty excellent for sure. So I've been rambling on forever. I just love bow hunting. Like, I love working hard towards my goals, and really proud of like the accomplishments and what I was able to do this season. Did what I set out to do and what I said I was going to do, and I was able to manifest my destiny. And I think that it's beautiful that that's available for us. So yeah, just more of that in the future. So can't wait to get after late season deer here a little bit. Look for a really good buck. Can't wait to get back out on the trails today and put in some more miles towards my goals and shoot those arrows. Make sure that I'm just clutching those scenarios where every successful hunt comes down to making a shot. I want to be there to make it. So got my stuff all put away, my garage reorganized today, building some arrows. Like, I also, it makes me want to be the best family man I can. It's catching volleyball games now. It's spending time with the family, spending time with my wife, making sure that she knows she's appreciated. It's doing my best at work. These guys covered for me throughout season, and so now it's time to do my part and step up, make sure that I've got work in front of us, got materials ordered, that I'm getting there, helping with difficult tasks, that I'm putting in hours, like all these things, like, gives me perspective on my life to be able to go, yeah, I got one chance at this thing. I'm just going to try to be the best man I can be, the best at all these endeavors, and going to work hard. It's, really keeping my diet in check, which, it's just been great. It's not even really a diet. It's just real food and good protein and staying away from the bad stuff and processed. And I've been really disciplined and getting better and better. And, as I get older, I'm going to have to take better care out of my, I'm just going to have to take the best care. Like, I've taken good care of myself, but, right now I just don't have any joint pain. I feel great in the mountains. I just want to keep this going for as long as I can, but that's taking the absolute best care of myself as I can, to have longevity and to be able to do these things that I love. So as I get older, I'm going to have to work as hard as I can to stay, super fit and in great shape and keep enjoying these things that I love. And, luckily, we've got some role models out there that are, taking care of themselves and, hunting into their late years. And, gosh, I have one on the podcast, Jim Bort, that's coming up that I'll release to you guys here shortly. Such a great attitude on life and tackling tasks, and I know he's over 60, but he's worked really hard to keep himself in shape. He's doing that Mountain Tough Fitness this year and still hunting the mountain hard. I ran into a guy last year. I think I told you on the podcast. He was 78. He was hunting elk. And I just, usually I'm so driven. I'm trying to get to my places and this spot. I was hiking out of a place and he was hiking in. I sat and talked to him for 30 minutes. He was 78 years old, approaching 80, or he could have even been 82. I feel like he's somewhere in there. I'm trying to remember from memory, which it's a year ago, so it's tough to remember the details, but just an older gentleman that had his recurve and was hunting elk and talking about hunting elk and dying on his feet and doing the things he loves to do, to ski and to hunt elk and keeping active. And he also had like these great terms on life, like, what was it? Look in the rear view mirror 10%, look in the future 10% in front of you, and focus on the right here, right now 80% of the time. Like, he had a couple of those things that he said to me. It was just, he reminded me of my grandpa as well, who passed a couple years ago, who was a great man. He was 92, I think. But yeah, it's just some of those things hit home, and stopped and talked to that guy. And I was just like, man, that's really what I want, is longevity. Do the things I love to do, be a good husband and father, and live the absolute best life I can for as long as I can. And right now, I really feel like I'm in my peak or my prime of bow hunting. I'm better than I've ever been, and not just by those accomplishments, but by the moves I'm making, by the fitness I'm in, by my map research, by my shooting. Just if I was to give myself a graded scale on all those things, I just keep improving them year to year. And so I'm the best version of myself, bow hunting right now that I've ever been. And I love walking around with that confidence. So I just want it to continue. All right. I've been jabbing for way too long. That's a solo podcast. Thanks again to our sponsors. That Matthews lift is shooting so good for me. So pumped on that thing. Outdoor Edge Knife, used them to butcher all these animals this season. It's been doing great for me. Black Ovis Internet Retail Shop, Camo Fire. Thanks to those guys for their support. And just more of the same for me. So, yeah, thanks a bunch, you guys, for all the support, listening into the podcast, and supporting me. It's been quite a few weeks since I've got on and done a solo. Hopefully I didn't bore you. It definitely went long, but God, it's good stuff. It's the stuff I love. So with that, I'll check in with you guys next week.